Waynesburg is coming off its 9th straight season with a winning percentage of 500 or higher, and a 3rd straight year with a trip to an ECAC Bowl. What do you feel is the biggest reason for the consistent success of your program?
100%. From my standpoint, I think it's the players that I've had an opportunity to coach. We made a decision, 5 years ago to really investigate the guys that we're coaching. It's a very competitive recruiting experience here in Western PA and Northeastern Ohio for all of us. And as Waynesburg University has made many strides academically over the course of the last 10 years, that's kind of spurred on a philosophy for us to match that with the type of players that we're putting out on the field. So we've just been fortunate to stay on the right players, guys that fit our university. I mean, there's several majors I think that are great majors for us to recruit. There's about 6 of them in particular, I think. But finding that academic fit, so there's a reason for them to be there more than just the football aspect of things. And then finding a better student athlete, obviously, which everybody knows in Division III, creates a better financial situation for all the guys. So those two things combined. And then with the things that we've been working on for the last 5 years in retention, to make sure that we're doing the best job that we can possibly do as a coaching staff, as a university in regard to academic support, to do the little things, for these guys. Now, what that has turned into for us is incredible leadership, especially the last 3 years. I make sure our guys know how much I appreciate them on a regular basis. I've enjoyed, the last 3 years with this particular crew that's going to graduate has really been special just because of the things that they've done both on and off the field. So, there's a lot of little things that go on in the program, but we rely on these guys, and it's, any success we're having, we all know this as coaches as well. It's not as much about the X's and O's as it is about the Jimmies and the Joes. So, we're lucky to have these guys for sure.
With one of the program's most productive quarterbacks returning for his senior season, as well as 8 other starters on the offensive side of the ball, just how good do you think this Jacket offense can be in 2014?
Well, first and foremost, the offensive line would be the biggest factor in how good we can be offensively. Carter does a phenomenal job making decisions with the ball in his hand, and believe me, there's nobody that's more excited to have it in his hand than I am, for sure. But the offensive line obviously is going to be the biggest contributor to our success, and a lot of the coaches today have been talking about how important the run game is. I think we need more balance in that for us. I think some of the things that we went into the offseason, with the intention of improving on is our ability to run the football as well and have more balance in that offense. That in turn is going to obviously, take more pressure off of Carter so that he just doesn't have as much pressure on him to make so many plays. I don't think, I've coached some great quarterbacks. This will be year 25 for me coaching, and believe me, I've been blessed to have some good jobs, and I've blessed to coach some good quarterbacks. By far, Carter is maybe the best that I've ever had the opportunity to coach. Largely because he comes from a coaching family, very competitive competition with his older brother. Dad's a football coach. He was a 4-year starter in high school. I think the biggest stride for him to make is letting the game come to him, letting it flow through the offensive line, through some run game, and then utilizing a receiving core that going into the last season, was totally untested. We did not know how we were going to respond last year at receiver, but with the numbers that he was able to produce, obviously we were catching the ball. So a better run game to add to that, will make us better, but it'll come through the offensive line.
On the other side of the ball, Waynesburg only returns 5 starters on defense and loses highly decorated 4-year starters in safety Brian Gary and defensive end Brandon Fedorka. How have you and defensive coordinator Scott Vennick prepared for this turnover?
Well, in 07, we lost a great one here who was the defensive player of the year in this conference. And the 08 season taught us a great lesson. We were used to playing with, Mike Serwin and Brendan Steele on defense. And, when they graduated, I don't know how prepared we were as a staff, and I don't know how prepared Coach Vennick was to head into that season. Now, learning that lesson and in all those years of experience, obviously we began to plan for those things. I mean, Brian Gary was a special player. He graduated. He and both Brandon Fedorka, two of the most decorated players that have ever played at Waynesburg, in a pretty storied tradition, of our own. So we started to establish, a plan for how we were going to recover from those losses right away. We did that internally in the team. Our philosophy is to always look at guys from a defensive standpoint first in the recruiting philosophy. So while we're recruiting, we're looking for those guys who, may start out on the offensive side of the ball, but end up, especially in the skilled positions, on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, defensive linemen and linebackers are special areas. It doesn't really fall into that category. But, for us, we made some internal moves. We think some guys are going to step up. A recruiting class this year that I thought was very hotly contested with all the competition up this way. Coach Hilbert, I don't know how tough it is for you down Cincinnati way, but St. Vincent was out on the road. When we see coaches out on the road, I mean, we had all our conference rivals, and then St. Vincent, with a special emphasis I saw in recruiting areas I haven't seen them in before. Same thing with Case Western, makes it tough. So our recruiting class is, I think it's solid. I think we got some key pieces, and I think we've got a few guys that I think that early on will contribute somehow, and we'll find a way for them to contribute because you definitely don't want to get young. But a couple of those key pieces I think will be good for this year's class, and I'm excited about what they're going to bring to the table.
Under the guidance of veteran assistant Jason Falvo, the Jackets have typically enjoyed very strong special teams play. However, Waynesburg will need to replace all PAC kicker Alex Henry, as well as your starting punter Dominic Zappa. How do you envision these two crucial starting competitions playing out in camp for you?
Well, again, planning for that, and the biggest thing not having a kicker before Alex Henry was huge because the opponent's starting offensive field position was 23 yards more significant, with Alex Henry than without. So, with that, Scott Lewis will do an outstanding job for us in those categories. Is he going to be, quite the deep, kicking threat on kickoff that Alex was? Maybe not quite, but then again, the focus to put, the right guys in the cover teams obviously will be significant in that hang time. Jonathan Hager will do a really good job as a punter, get us back to more of what Zach Rogers was as an all-conference punter 2 years ago. His issue last year in not having the job was just that he was a freshman, young, and a little bit more immature than we'd like him to be, and hopefully he's made some strides on that. We know he did as he finished, both spring ball and academically for the year.
Coach, last question. The 2014 Jacket schedule opens with 3 straight home games. It ends with back-to-back home contests against Thomas More and Washington and Jefferson. How important will it be for your team to not only get off to a fast start, to take advantage of 3 weeks playing at John F. Wiley Stadium, but also to stay healthy enough to face probably your 2 toughest games to conclude your regular season?
I think those are challenges that we all face as coaches in this conference because of the type of opponents that we're going to play and the kind of physicality that everybody brings to the table. No question. It's almost the thought of becoming more like a baseball manager and managing some of the little things. I mean, I've never seen more before, and even in my opportunities this summer, these practices, they get prepared. I know Ohio's already in 2-a-days, and Pennsylvania will start here on the 11th, but I've never seen more of an emphasis, even on the part of the high school coaches, to spend time making sure they have a better physical plan, a better mental plan, a better management plan for their athletes. So whether it's due to numbers and participation in all of these high schools, or whether it deals with the physicality of football, I think our big thing is going to be in how we develop our younger players early. And obviously we're all excited about the start of football season to do that, but I think that's going to be most critical for us. I mean, we want to develop the guys that are going to be on the field and immediately look to develop the depth, so that we can make those necessary decisions, the right ones, to keep us in the hunt, when it's most important.
Coach, thank you. How different was your record-setting 2013 season from a 2012 season that saw you taking over as the starting quarterback midway through the season?
Well, I think each team and each year has a different personality, and I think all the players players can kind of attribute to that. And 2012 was more of a pound the pill type team. We had two really good backs, pretty solid offensive line. I was inexperienced, didn't really know the playbook as much, and I think that kind of goes right along with our skill guys too. They didn't really know as much as they do now, and weren't as experienced then. So.
With starting wide receivers Andrew English and Bernie Thompson back for the Jackets, as well as a total of 9 of Waynesburg's top 10 receivers returning this fall, how good do you think this passing attack can be?
Well, I think it'll be as good as we want it to be. You know, we got to work hard. Through a lot over the summer with the guys. You know, he's from Youngstown area, and they're definitely putting in the work. We're more serious than we've ever been. This class has been, and you know, we think we can be pretty good, but we should be pretty balanced too. Is what we want to be.
You're expected to have 4 of last year's 5 starting offensive linemen back in front of you this year. How much does that raise your comfort level with the offense?
Well, O-line is a big comfort level, you know, especially having those big guys up front. You know, it does raise your comfort level a lot, and having Matt Stansfield as our offensive line coach and offensive coordinator coach, he really helps out and really makes the terminology easy for not only the linemen, but the backs to respond to.
Carter, last question. You threw the ball a team record 473 times last year and completed at least 18 passes to 7 different receivers. How important is that balance to the success of your offense?
Well, that's really important. It's what we felt we did good last year. But like I said earlier, there's always room for improvement, and we think we can be pretty balanced this year. Our O-line gets off to a good start, and that's definitely one thing we're going to work on is being more balanced.
Coach Carter, thank you guys. Waynesburg opens its season at home against Muskingum on September 6th.